I'm Howard Givner, and in this class we're going to talk about accounting and financial management for people who run event planning companies. Now, people get into events and meeting planning for lots of different reasons. They're really creative, they're really good at organizing, they like being in charge. A love of finance is never one of them. I don't know anybody that I've spoken to who says, boy, I'm really good at numbers, I can't wait to plan events. But if you have your own business, you absolutely have to have some kind of a handle on how your company is doing financially. Because if you don't, there's a very good chance you could be out of business. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I own the business and I run the events, but when it comes to the numbers, I have my accountant take care of that, or my bookkeeper tells me what's going on with that. And I think that's fine. But what I'm saying in this class here is that you still need to understand what the accountants and the bookkeepers are telling you, and you need to get a sense of what those numbers might mean. The best analogy I can think of with this respect is that of a car and a mechanic. Now, you might have no problem driving a car, and most people I know who drive cars, they kind of know how the cars work and they know the basic parts of the car. If something goes wrong under the hood, they bring it to a mechanic. Now, that's fine, but at the same time, they still need to know how to read the dashboard. They need to know if they're going to run out of gas, and they need to know how to read their speedometer so that they don't get caught speeding, things like that. So I would think of your expertise or your knowledge level when it comes to the finances of your business should be the equivalent of driving your car. The accountant can give you the readouts, but you need to understand what's on the dashboard. One of the nice things is that now, in this day and age, it's easier than ever to get a good grasp on understanding the basics of accounting and finance. And that's because of software. Things like QuickBooks, MYOB, there's lots of other software that's out there. I'll tell you this, when I started my business many years ago, that wasn't readily available. And we had to learn it, double entry, by hand, the old-fashioned way. And it's a lot simpler now when you've got these programs that can kind of automate a lot of the processes for you. Either way, no matter how you get the information, the most critical thing is that you've got to have a handle on your numbers and what they mean. In this class, we'll cover a lot of different things. We'll start by talking about accounting basics. We'll talk about the difference between accrual and cash methods of accounting. We'll talk about double entry bookkeeping, and we'll go into detail on a chart of accounts. We'll then spend a fair amount of time going into the key financial reports that are used most often. The profit and loss, or the income statement, and the balance sheet, and we'll spend some time about the accounts payable and accounts receivable. Then we'll also talk about a cash flow projection and how that complements the P&L and the balance sheet. I'll then go into some tips for successfully managing your accounts receivable and your accounts payable. We'll cover advanced planning and contingency planning tips. I'll give you a number of budgeting and cost management tips as well. And we'll talk about sources of financing, pros and cons of them. And then finally, we'll get into the differences between an accountant and a bookkeeper.